Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, unlocking the power of Thinkorswim, the award-winning trading platforms loaded with features that let you dive deeper into the market. Visualize your trades in a new light on Thinkorswim desktop with robust charting and analysis tools, all while you uncover new opportunities with up-to-the-minute market news and insights. Thinkorswim is available on desktop, web, and mobile to meet you where you are. It's built by the trading obsessed to help you trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
This is going to be an extremely busy month. I have to watch 104 soccer games, follow the pregame, the postgame, yell useless opinions at the TV. It's a lot. So I knew that when it comes to screening for colon cancer, the choice was clear. The Cologuard Plus test. It can be used at home and can only take 15 minutes, so I can do it during halftime and not miss any action. If you are 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a prescription at Cologuard.com.
All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! Mic in the room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Authors with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chain, turning Billy alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed, that's the misfit play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels close. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels close. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels close. It's Aubrey right now, we're the more than you know. 9888, don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fire, from the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is fabrication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home, you belong. You belong. You belong. Oh wait, you. Oh wait, you belong.
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation and your Thursday after dinner edition. We know you got other places you can be watching the World Cup, watching basketball, women's NBA right now, or you could hang out with us. And you chose to hang out with us and collect those frequent flyer miles. So thank you. Before we start tonight, let's remember the 8 souls we lost in the B-52 crash the other night. Let's keep those families, their friends, their peers, in your thoughts and prayers from their sudden loss. And hopefully they'll find out what happened with this one and doesn't happen again. But keep those families in your thoughts and prayers tonight and into the near future, as they'll be needing a lot of those big hugs and love going on here in the next few weeks. But today's guest spent more than 13 years working undercover in one of the most dangerous and emotionally challenging areas of law enforcement. investigating sex trafficking, targeting buyers and traffickers, and helping rescue victims. With 27 total years in law enforcement, Heidi Chance has become one of the nation's leading experts on human trafficking investigations, victim identification, undercover operations, and community awareness. She's trained agencies across America, testified as an expert witness, developed at advanced detective training programs, and appeared in the PBS Frontline documentary, Trafficking in America. Tonight, we're discussing the realities of trafficking in America, the warning signs communities often miss, what law enforcement faces behind the scenes, and how awareness can help save lives. Misfit Nation, this is one conversation you won't want to miss. Please welcome Detective Heidi Chance to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. When I seen your name come up on the podcast guest spreadsheet there, so this is a must-have. We got to have you on here. This is a high-profile topic, obviously, but it's something that it's not really talked about. You see it in the peripheries a lot, but not a lot of people want to talk about it in public because I guess it's voodoo or it's bad juju to talk about this because it's actually happening. They don't want to admit it.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely one of the main things that we deal with as far as people's perception of it's happening somewhere else, it's happening in another country. There's no way it's happening here, but I'm here to tell you it's happening in our community, even in rural areas. And I have cases and cases to prove it, unfortunately.
And that's the sad thing. There's just cases and cases that you have to prove it. And 13 years undercover and doing the sting operations, really. And we know what happens right here in our town here in Clarksville. They do it right at this hotels right along the highway where they set up the stings because the interstate comes right past us here. So they have the same hotels nearly every time where they catch at least 10 dudes every time going to pay for company. And it just never stops. I don't understand how people don't catch on that they're doing these things, or maybe they're just so addicted to doing it that they can't stop.
Yeah, I have a lot of opinions about that. I would probably start with the issue of everything available in the palm of our hands. Pornography, the ease of viewing video, live video, even with these platforms like OnlyFans, Patreon, making requests for sexual services to be performed live. And people are ingesting all of that. And it after a while, it is no longer exciting some people. And they move into action in real life. And that's when they're interacting with live victims that are being exploited. There are victims also being exploited on those platforms also, by the way. They're, in my opinion, being managed by people who are creating a situation where they've made them sign a legal contract and threaten them with that contract, legal action against them if they don't perform and they don't produce the content. So in essence, that's kind of the definition of forcing someone, or else, you do this or else, a consequence, a threat. And in my opinion, that's definitely happening every day as well.
Definitely. See what happens. Out of trouble. Wouldn't admit it. It made like it wasn't a big deal. It made like it was nothing to worry about. They can just go about their life as normal. And I kind of went the total opposite direction and just basically turned him off and left away. Took myself away from his situation completely because I didn't want to hear him say it wasn't a problem or it wasn't a bad thing, because it is a bad thing. It's horrible.
Yeah. And it's a very transient crime. Just like you were saying, the hotel, it's along the side of a freeway. I think that's something that law enforcement needs to realize, is that by the time we're on to a situation with a trafficker and several victims, they may have already moved on to the next place. And they're very organized, much more than we even thought. I'm investigating a couple of pimps right now that communicate through like a group on a social media platform. And they have Pimp of the Month going on, where they're competing with each other and there's money involved. I mean, there's all kinds of things I don't think that law enforcement realizes. And we're, as always, behind the ball on things. And we need to get continued training and education on this at all times because it's ever evolving.
Definitely. And 27 years in law enforcement, I'm sure you've seen it evolve 100 times over that period. When did you notice that it went from just on the street stuff to, hey, it's digital and they're pimping kids out, they're grooming children to become these sex trafficked or human trafficked people?
Yeah. So when I first started doing like temporary assignments with the unit, my first experience with posing as an undercover prostituted person was obviously the girl on the side of the road in the streets. So there's different types of prostitution going on. We have street prostitution, the online prostitution. So basically I was posing as a prostituted person, and I was swarmed by bees in a sense, where there were so many men that knew exactly where to go drive up and solicit, that within 45 seconds, I stepped out on the street. My first time doing this, a vehicle pulled up. The guy was masturbating himself and solicited sex act from me. So obviously my reaction to that, was not like a normal reaction. I had to stay in character, so to speak. And I just said to him, "You started the party without me." And then went on to engage in that conversation, and he was arrested. But it was definitely shocking to me as to if I had not engaged with that person, the next one was ready to pull up on me. And then there were two more across the street. They were waiting to see what happened. So it's pretty incredible. And I understand that this problem is 50 times worse now than it was before. And I'm talking about 2007. Now we're in 2026. So there's several reasons for that. I have my opinions about that as well.
You can share if you're allowed to.
Yeah. So obviously, when we talked about evolution of this crime, back when I first started, I really did witness the changes in law enforcement and how we respond to this crime. When I went to the unit it was called the Vice unit at the time, and now it's the Human Exploitation and Trafficking unit. Back then, there was only one allowed female position per squad, because back then we needed male undercovers to arrest girls that are committing acts of prostitution. That's what we were doing all day long, every day. And they didn't really need female undercovers except for to do female searches. Now that we've recognized we were probably arresting potential victims of trafficking, we do, I'm happy to report, say that the female undercovers outweigh the male undercovers, because you need female undercovers to target sex buyers and traffickers. So female undercovers really are the front lines in this fight. There is no one else that can be in that position. And so that is part of what I do now when I do law enforcement training and go around the country. I'm training female officers to be that front line and to be that female undercover, both out on the streets, in hotels, advertised on prostitution websites, and then also engaging with pimps in an undercover capacity. I've been recruited and groomed by traffickers that didn't know, obviously, who they were talking to out on the streets during operations, in hotels when they showed up, when we were advertised online, and also on social media platforms. And so that is where my experience comes from. And so that's what I try to share. That's my main goal, is to encourage female officers to be undercover.
And to give them the tools to do it, since you have a lot of tools you picked up.
When I was put out on the street that first time, I had a 30-minute briefing, and then here you go, watch a couple of girls that have done it before, and there you are. And I was literally like, okay, here I am. So I had no training. And now I have a female undercover school that I host several times a year, virtually and in person. And that is way more important to me, that those officers understand how dangerous this can be, because I have engaged with pimps that were armed in person, standing next to me, and at any time could have done something. And I've engaged with sex buyers in hotel rooms that tried to touch me inappropriately. And also later, after they were arrested, were found with weapons on them, warrants, outstanding warrants, drugs. So it's very dangerous. Absolutely. So having training is really important.
So it goes back to kind of like the old movies where they used to put people undercover. It would be like, hey, you're off the street today, you're going undercover. That's kind of what happened to you.
Yeah, we kind of, yeah. We need to do better.
So that was something real in Hollywood they were showing.
Yes.
That's amazing. What originally led you into police work? Was it a family tradition, or did you something you just want to do?
Yeah, so I am actually third generation in law enforcement. My grandfather was NYPD, and then my father was Phoenix PD, and then he also, when he retired with 26 years on, he actually had the police chief at the time give me his badge. And so my badge said, it was his badge number, and then it said policeman instead of police officer. Obviously, and I don't care.
Right.
I have my dad's badge. I'm not reading anything into policeman. It said policeman for my career because that is what I was. But he retired after that and went over to Maricopa County Sheriff's Office for another 12 years. So, and then I got on and took on his badge and I'm still in law enforcement working for a different agency now that I retired from Phoenix Police Department. But I was definitely in the blood, so to speak, if that's what you're asking.
For some people, that's why they do it. They follow dad, like you, dad and granddad.
Yeah.
Both did it, and then you came in next. And some people just on the whim say, I want to be a police officer. Maybe something happened along the way that a police officer helped them, or maybe they've seen so much crime that they thought maybe they can make a difference. They become a police officer. And they're the first one, and then hopefully someone down the line follows. But it's usually the case.
I think I inherited my dad's gift of being in the right place at the right time. When I was 16 and I was learning how to drive, there were two instances that I remember clearly where I was with my father. One of them was where I was working at a yogurt shop, and I was learning how to drive at that time. So I had my permit. And so when he would come to get me, I would drive us home. And so he always, taught me to be observant while driving. And one day we were driving through the parking lot and we stopped for two guys that ran out in front of us with guns and a bunch of boxes of shoes because they had just robbed the Payless shoe store that was right there. And so obviously my dad looked at me, I looked at him, and he said, follow that car. And so I ended up helping him with the fact that he got on the phone, the brick phone back then is what it was. And he called in what we were seeing and the suspects took off. We were just being a good witness, but it was, something that happened right in front of us. And then another time, also in that period where I was learning how to drive, he always taught me how to look down alleys. And so we looked down our own alley one day as I was driving us back, and my dad and I saw two young men jump over the back wall into the alley from what looked like our neighbor's yard or our yard. We didn't know which one from the angle we were at. So obviously I pull around front, my dad jumps out, goes to get his radio and badge and whatever he goes and gets. And without thinking, I drove to go be my dad's backup to cut off these guys in the direction that they were going. And then my dad was coming from the alley from the back of our home. So we had them cornered. But it was just one of those things that I just jumped to action without even thinking about it. And I think that, that's how I've always been.
Nice. That's good. Yeah. That he taught you the instincts. Basically, without even trying, he taught you the instincts. Being in the car with him when you said brick phone, I was laughing to myself, thinking of Saved by the Bell. That big giant phone. I had one when I worked at a parking lot in New Jersey, right across from New York. Yeah, for the Statue of Liberty. That was the only thing I had to reach out for help, was this giant brick phone. And I never used it because I could never figure it out, but it was right there. Yeah. It was there though.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful memory.
Mm-hmm.
If you could do it all over again, would you still stay in the police force path, or would you have went maybe to college and done something else?
I don't think I would have changed anything except for and it's one of those things where I spent 10 years in patrol before I ever moved to a specialty detail. So I think maybe moving around more in that 10 years, because I retired with really only being in two places in the police department. And there's so many more things you can do as a police officer, different jobs, canine detectives in a different unit, the air unit, community, things with the kids. So there's lots that you can do. I mean, I did a little bit of that, but I definitely, I wish I had moved around a little bit more.
I'm sure you would have had a more rounded, I guess, police experience. But it wouldn't have let you be the expert you are and what you are now.
True, I would not lose that.
That would be something that you're sharing with the world now, sharing with other officers as they go through the same stuff that you went through. Instead of getting a 30-minute pep talk to go into it, now they get an actual class. They get someone that's been through it to show them the ins and outs and maybe some safety tips so that they don't get into situations that they can't get out of. And I think that's much better.
Me too.
So you get to, now you're based out of still Arizona and you travel around the whole country training people?
Yeah. So when I retired in October of 2021, I went over to another law enforcement agency and I was investigating illegal gambling. I have no idea other than it was a friend of mine that I worked in Vice with. That was my old partner that was a sergeant there. And he said, hey, we have a job for you if you want. So I went over and did that for 2 years. And I was, having fun. And actually, it was the most undercover work I've actually ever done. Because even with the Phoenix Police Department Heat Unit, I would be on the streets or in a hotel in more of a controlled environment. But working for Department of Gaming, I went into people's houses and they locked the door behind me. And I was in there by myself playing poker, probably with convicted felons for hours. And people were drinking and probably using drugs all around me. And I remember one instance where someone knocked on the door and everybody looked up and they were like, that sounded like a cop knock. And, I didn't know what was going to happen next, but it was actually another player that showed up to play, but they had cameras everywhere. It was like for real criminal activity that I really had never experienced before. But anyway, I did that for 2 years. And then uniquely when the Arizona Attorney General, Chris Mays, was elected, she created a position for the state at the Attorney General's office for human trafficking investigations. And so I was asked to come over to that position, even though it was a pay cut. I was happy to go over because I was wanting to do this again. I wanted to investigate human trafficking. It's what I'm passionate about. So that's where I've landed now. But in that 2 years that I was at Department of Gaming, I created my business, achanceForAwareness.com. And I have 2 missions with my business. Obviously, the continued law enforcement training. I'm very, 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 good at the training with the female undercovers in my female undercover school that I'm trying to do multiple times a year, both in person and virtually, but also other training. Like literally in 1998, when I was in the police academy, I never had a class on human trafficking. I had classes on gangsters and drug dealers and how to smell weed and all the things, but we never ever talked about human trafficking. And when I'm traveling around speaking to law enforcement agencies, I ask that question in the class. Anybody here have a class on human trafficking ever before, or even in the academy? And I'm barely getting anyone. Cops don't really participate when you ask them to participate, but I'm not getting anybody to answer and raise their hand. And it's one of those things where I really think that we are even further behind than I thought we were when we don't have law enforcement that even knows what to look for, patrol officers to recognize on a traffic stop that we pulled over a possible pimp and victims in the car. And these pimps are bragging about us not seeing them. So it's very important to do the training, the recognition. I'm a forensic interviewer, so I train on interviewing a victim of trafficking, which is a very different interview than a child that's disclosing a sexual assault or a molesting or something like that. That kid wants to talk about what happened to them. These kids don't want to talk to us. They're in love with their pimp, and they're very uncooperative sometimes. And so building rapport with them is super important, and you've got to have training to do that. And then interrogating these suspects, it's an advantage for me as a female to interview a pimp. It really is. I've spent 6 hours before chopping it up with a pimp who thought they could manipulate me because I'm weaker because I'm female. Wow. And that was his mindset. So it's a strategy to use a female undercover, and a female undercover that, obviously knows the lingo, knows the lifestyle, but also can act like a dumb blonde, which is very, very curated skill that I also have. And so interviewing these traffickers is also a class that I teach, and then putting these cases together for successful prosecution. These cases are really hard. I joke all the time that homicide detectives have it easy. Their victim is dead. right there. They're not going anywhere. They're not returning to prostitution. They're not committing other crimes. They're not using drugs. They're not, freaking out about having to see their pimp and testify 2 years from now, and they change their mind about pressing charges. They have it easy. We have a very, very large mountain to climb when we are investigating these types of cases. We've got to find corroborative evidence, because this case is literally this person's word against that person's word. We're not going to have a witness that saw this person, the victim, have sex with multiple sex buyers, make money and turn the money over to the trafficker, unless we have multiple victims from the same investigation coming forward. So we have to use corroborative evidence to prove these cases. And then we don't have victims that, like I said, are coming forward and saying, hey, Detective Chance, I'm over here. Please come talk to me. They don't want to talk to us. So very, very difficult challenges right from the get with these cases. So teaching law enforcement how to get there, to build that case, to get successful prosecution is one of my classes. And then on top of that, I also have recognized that we need to do more. As if we're not doing enough already. We are doing enough, but we do need to do more, because I myself, and I'm only one detective in one part of the world, and sorry I'm going on, but this is important. One part of the world, and I've already rearrested 4 pimps that I had cases on. Whether it was I put them in prison, they did their time, and because I've been doing this for so long, they're back out and went right back to pimping again. Or it was a case like many that I've had where a victim changed their mind 2 years later that they didn't want to press charges anymore, and the whole case kind of got sidelined. I've re-met 4 pimps. I should not be re-meeting these pimps. We need to do more to put them in custody, in jail for longer, with more felonies. And the way to do that is financial crime investigations alongside a victim-based case. So I teach law enforcement, because I never had anyone teach me how to do this. I had to learn by doing how to do the money laundering, illegal enterprise cases to go alongside, or even in some instances without a victim. The state will be the victim, and go after these guys for some other serious felonies that they need to be facing. And more than that, I also didn't ever have anyone teach me how to do this. I had to learn by doing, is seizing their assets, taking their bank accounts, taking their cars, seizing their Rolex watches and their P blinged out necklaces and their Nike shoes that are stacked from floor to ceiling, brand new shoes, all of it. Because these traffickers have no job. They have no legitimate income coming in. Their only job is to manage the victims they have right now and look for new ones. And so we need to go after the money and follow and seize those assets. That is where we take them out at the knees.
Definitely. We had, I used to live on the other side of town, and there was one that moved in right across the street, and the people who were renting to them were so happy because they were paying cash and almost double the rent. So
I'm sure they
were
were.
so happy. They were happy, and they were defending them. When I told them they were not good people, they were doing bad things, and you're just jealous because they have all these things. Okay, I'm jealous, but you're going to wind up in jail because of what they're doing in your house, and you're letting it happen because you're getting extra cash. And they didn't want to listen until the dude got arrested, and him and his pregnant wife, who were both trafficking people, and sex trafficking and human trafficking from Arkansas across us to the East Coast. They got arrested. All they did was they just moved their operation to the next state. They moved into Kentucky, which we live right on the border. So they moved to the next state and got arrested again within weeks for the same charges. And they just catch and release. In order to make it end, there has to be some heavy actual charges and actual punishments to them.
Yeah, I mean, one of my cases, which it was at the time, I don't know if it still is, it was a record for the United States. It was familial trafficking. So basically, there's different types of trafficking, in my opinion. There is the street trafficking that's going on, where you have individuals trafficking other individuals. And you have organized trafficking, which could be like brothels, cartels, massage parlors, more organized and a connection to out of the United States. And then you have familial trafficking, where you have family members that are actually selling their own family member. And so this case had 7 victims, 2 juveniles. One of the kids in the case was 13 when her uncle, that's the pimp, he had sex with her when she was 13. And then a few years later, when she was almost 15, she had a situation where her grandmother, who was her guardian, couldn't really take care of her as well because she got in trouble with law enforcement for drinking underage in a small town. This is why I say this is happening everywhere. And he brought her to Phoenix and had her working out of a brothel he had running out of his house. And he was also having sex with her every day, as well as another juvenile, which was a 17-year-old. Her mom was a Department of Corrections officer who lost her job, fell into drugs, and became employed at the strip club and met him at the strip club. And then he married her. And then she brought her 17-year-old daughter and then these other adult females. So it was 7 victims. The case took 5 years from the point where the juvenile who originally disclosed, the niece, she was almost 17 when she disclosed, 5 years to go to trial. And we got 7 victims to show up 5 years later. He was charged with 130 count indictment. After 7 months, the jury deliberated for 4 days and found him guilty on 101 counts. And he was sentenced to 493.5 years in prison.
Wow.
Yeah.
A home run there. So that's
yeah.
good.
I love talking about that one because the public needs to know what's going on here. And I always, when I present that case to the public, I talk about how this isn't something that happened in the beginning. When I first started investigating these cases, we were getting bullshit plea offers for 8-9 years. This is another reason why I'm re-meeting for pimps that I put in prison.
Right.
And that was because at the time, prosecutors didn't think these cases had jury appeal. I mean, we had victims that, like I said, returned to prostitution, got heavily into drugs. It was very difficult. It is still very difficult. But when I'm speaking to the community, and that's also part of my second mission of my business, is to inform the community, because I believe that an informed public equals an informed jury, which equals accountability for these traffickers. And that's where we're seeing these 100-year sentences. And I've had multiple that I've put in prison for over 100 years. That's not the only one. So that evolution I've witnessed over the years is because of awareness and getting this information out there. So when people say awareness isn't doing anything, I beg to differ because I've seen it.
That's amazing. Good work on the home run. And
Yeah.
the other hundreds of years of people in jail. And hopefully they're rotting in there and don't ever come out by any technicalities or something. Being in Arizona, are a lot of those being trafficked? You said we just talked about familial, but are there a lot of people being trafficked across the border or from within the United States across Arizona?
Yeah. So like I said, it's very transient crime. As far as the border, my experience before I went to a state position now was just inner city Phoenix. We obviously did have some brothels that we discovered that were very difficult to get into as undercovers because they were Spanish speaking. They were native Spanish speaking. You had to know someone who knew someone. Very underground, really, actually. And that's kind of where my experience was with that. Not really what is going on now because I did retire in 2021. So all of this situation with the border has been since I've kind of left that and then now returned to it. So it's definitely happening. I don't doubt, obviously, with what we see in the news and things. I just don't have any personal cases that are more than what I've described, but it's an issue for sure.
Right. I know it's transient. I know they can come from anything, they can take them from anywhere and do this.
Yeah.
That's just,
well, I mean, yeah. Part of that transientness is the isolation. Because if you have a victim who, and these traffickers are really good at burning bridges with family and friends, making that victim, get in fights with their family because they don't want them to have an opportunity to go somewhere if they do decide to leave this pimp. And then also moving them around constantly. They're withholding their identity from them. I had a trafficking case I did a warrant on recently, like last 2 months ago, where we were doing the warrant at the pimp's house, and in his closet, in his pants, zipped into the pocket of these pants, this girl's ID, her medical card, and her birth certificate were hidden in the closet. And the reason why it's in there is because he's living with these girls and he doesn't want her to be able to find it to leave. He's keeping it from her. So with that, they're also traveling and isolating them. And imagine being a 15-year-old with no ID. You're taken to another state. You don't have the phone that you had when you ran away from home because the pimp took it from you. They've locked you out of all of your social media because that's the first thing they do is control everything about you. So you can't even engage with any family or friends on social media. What are you going to do? Wow. You're going to stay in this stuck situation until law enforcement or someone from the public who learns about the signs calls the police and lets someone know.
Ends the circle there. So that's horrible. Yeah. Got a couple questions in the gallery here.
Okay.
This is from my brother. You spoke about finding people online like pimp groups. So seeing how everyone records and posts everything, how much does that help law enforcement find like reckless drivers and people just doing bad things and posting it online?
Yeah, so I think, and my experience has been this as far as internet and chatting with these guys, because I have 7 Facebooks, 5 Instagrams, Tag, Meet Me, Bumble, Plenty of Fish, Snapchat, all in undercover accounts. You never know who you're talking to. And engaging with these traffickers, we've learned a lot of intelligence. But a lot of times, and even predators, like acting as a juvenile, I've done that as well, where I'm acting like a 10-year-old. They want to trip that victim, trip meaning move me to a platform like Snapchat because they think Snapchat disappears. They think because it gets deleted that it's safe to have this inappropriate conversation with the 10-year-old on Snapchat. But I'm here to tell you, law enforcement can get the records of deleted stuff on Snapchat. So there you go. So hopefully that answers his question. But technology, it's good for us, but it's also bad. It's made traffickers be able to recruit and groom anonymously while sitting on their ass. Yeah. Before, they'd have to have like a moment of, observing a girl they wanted to target at a mall or a food court or at a store or at a gas station, wherever they are. And not to say they don't still take that opportunity if they happen to be out in the public. But even more so, the internet allows for them to sit in the car while the other victims are out there prostituting. They're managing them, but they're also recruiting and grooming. And they're sending out massive messages everywhere, casting that fishing line, trying to see who's going to take the bait. And I know this because of undercover conversations I'd had with these pimps where I've done a warrant for our conversation. And we may have only talked for a week. And in that, I'm seeing this initial message that was sent to me, copied and pasted to hundreds of other profiles every day, actively trying to engage with any victim that they can possibly get to make them money. And they're doing this on all platforms. And this is where we're at critical level with parents that we need to start talking to our kids about this. And that's why I wrote my book.
Nice. We'll get to your book in a minute. We had Daniel Redinger, he wrote in and said, "You are amazing."
Thank you.
And got a couple more questions in here. But again, start talking about your book, and then we'll get to the questions.
Yeah. So the reason why I wrote it is because I've been around long enough to see that when I first started investigating this crime, the national average age of entry of a young person into sex trafficking back in the day was 15 when we first started realizing this issue. Today, that age is 13 years old. Wow. And recently, I've helped Phoenix Police Department rescue an 11-year-old, which means this problem is getting worse, not better.
Yeah.
And so law enforcement's overwhelmed. We are reactionary only right now at this point. We don't have enough cops out there to even have undercovers to even be able to make a dent in this problem. And this problem isn't going away. It's getting worse. So I'm pleading to parents to have these conversations with their kid at an age younger than you would think. I'm talking 6, 7 years old.
Wow.
And the reason for that is because we're giving them access to tablets and phones and games at an age earlier than we ever thought we would. There's lots of reasons for this. They're going to get access to it anyway at school, all the things. So we need to start talking to them because this isn't a situation of if this happens to my kid, this is a situation of when this happens to my kid. And so the book, I happen to have it right here, talk to them. And I had it translated into Spanish recently because I believe it's a vulnerability for a non-English speaking parent to not know what's going on here when their kid has got this boyfriend that's talking to them late at night and whatever, and then it expands to they start running away. And if I was a pimp, I would target non-English speaking parents' kids because they aren't going to know what's up. So very critical that I get this in the hands of parents everywhere, anywhere I can. The reason also that I want the parents to have the conversation is so that their child, when it happens, can self-police themselves and recognize when a creeper is private messaging them, asking them personal information about themselves, like where they go to school, where their parents work, how old their siblings are, what their cross streets are, that kind of stuff. And then recognize when they're talking to them inappropriately, they're complimenting them. You're too sexy to be 10 years old. You're not 10 years old. Who says that to a 10-year-old? You know what I mean? Except for a predator. Or when they're encouraging them to delete the conversation or keep this a secret from your mom. All of those kind of things are going on every day, all day long. And if we talk to our kids about it, they're going to recognize when that's going on. They're going to stop talking to this creeper. And then they're going to come tell their parent about it. And that's what I ultimately want the book for. And so that is why I wrote it. And I think it's really, really important to get out there to parents.
It's very important. And I think even if parent A talks to their child and maybe parent B doesn't have the book or doesn't talk to their child, but if that first child sees the other child showing these signs, maybe they're able to save their friend.
Yeah.
It's too late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
So that's outstanding. I'm looking at your book, the page on your website right now, looking at the same thing. So
yeah.
As you were saying.
Yeah, and it's also, I talk a little bit about the other digital threats. So not just sex trafficking, but sextortion. That is a huge, like if I were to say another critical thing for parents to know about, because there are people, organizations like 764. Have you heard of 764? Okay, so there are people who just want to hurt people and they want to get views, follows, likes, and shares showing someone hurting themselves or them hurting them. So it is a group. And then there's also people out of the country that are extorting our youth, and they're targeting boys for this a lot of the time. And they're getting them to think that they're talking to another peer or a friend, just because Facebook says friends. They're really not friends. We don't know these people in real life. But anyway, a friend. And they're getting them to create a video of them cutting themselves or doing something crazy or an inappropriate sexually motivated video or picture. And then when they get that, they've captured it. And then they use that against them, extorting them, asking them for $5,000 by tomorrow. Or I already know where you go to school. I'm going to send this to all your friends. I'm going to blast it on the internet. And these kids are committing suicide rather than talking to their parents about what happened.
Wow.
It's extremely important that we talk about sextortion all day, every day, because we need to tell kids what you put on the internet never goes away. It's there forever. Despite the Take It Down program that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has, we really can't take an image that's been screenshotted and shared through phone to phone. We're never going to be able to get that back. Right. So we need to tell our kids right now, do not do this, and this is why.
Take heed to that lesson, everybody. Take heed to that lesson. We got a few questions popping in here, so it's going to be a little busy time for you here. You ready? All right, here we go. This is from @ScullyDude. What is the biggest misconception people have about human trafficking?
Well, and you can refer to my Instagram because I've been posting some videos recently, reels. It's a chance for awareness. And basically, I'm getting a lot of hate from men who are saying this is the oldest profession in the world and you're never going to stop it. And then I go and look at their profile and they're posing in pictures with their little girl. Mm-hmm. Let's think about this for a second. Would you want your daughter to be in that situation, to be exploited? And then there's lots of them that are responding back saying, let's legalize it and tax it. And that's working out real well for other countries. Not really. And it's also not working out well for the one county in Nevada where the one county, not all of Nevada, is illegal, by the way. People have that misconception that the Strip and everywhere. No, that's why they want you on the free limo ride to go somewhere else. The one county in Nevada where it is legal, there's a girl there that's suing, I believe she's suing the state because she was actually trafficked in a legal brothel, because it happens. It happens. Imagine if we didn't have the tool that we have to make arrests of buyers. Traffickers would just explode with exploiting people. This problem would explode to a magnitude that would be lawlessness and unimaginable harm to victims. So legalizing it is not the answer. I think what the answer would be is to change the mindset of young men. And I do say men only because in my experience in the last 16 years now investigating this crime, I have never, nor have I met a colleague, ever have a case involving a woman purchasing sex. So I'm speaking from my experience when I say there 99.9% of the buyers of people, buying people, are men.
Wow.
So my thought process on how we actually solve this problem is just like, have you heard this generation of youth, like my son is 24, he has zero interest in alcohol. Like he turned 21 and I was like, here, take a shot with your mom. And he didn't want to. He has no interest, neither does his girlfriend, in alcohol. This generation and the alcohol sales has dropped. Have you noticed that or heard that?
I heard that on radio.
Because this mindset of this generation has changed. And I'm thinking, well, if we can change mindset about alcohol, we can change the mindset about people buying people.
So many other things.
Yes, it can change. It can happen. And it starts with fathers having conversations with their sons about what it is to buy someone, what it is to view pornography on these platforms, what it actually results in, and what's behind all of that. And I even just created a guide actually on my website for fathers and mothers to have those conversations with young men, their boys, because, and it's a free guide, it's a free resource. I just really want to help change this mindset if it's possible. Because if it's possible, like I want to have a tasty beverage right after this because it's a Friday. I'm sorry, a Thursday night. So weekend starts for me. But my son would probably come over and drink water or soda. You know what I mean? So I think it's actually possible to change the mindset of the next generation.
Definitely is. And that's pure evidence right there.
Yeah, I think so.
That's amazing. Next one is from True Fan for Real. Are there warning signs that parents often miss when it comes to online grooming and trafficking? Thank you, True Fan.
Yeah, I definitely think that we wouldn't know the warning signs if we don't put expectations in place when we give devices to our children. Like, for example, I had a woman who made the expectation that you can only be on the computer in the family room where I am, where all of the family is, like not in the bedroom when they let their child on the computer. But unfortunately, she let that child have a headset. And so she couldn't hear the conversations going on. Yes, she could walk by, but obviously we've got life going on and we're making dinner and doing whatever. And so she never saw all the interactions going on with strangers on that computer that was in the room where she was at. So, to the point of having the conversations, telling them about the things that are going to happen, expect that it's going to happen, is super important. As far as warning signs, obviously, just like a cheating spouse, if I'm on my phone and you come by and I like real quick pull it away or put it down or lock the screen, that's a clue. Kids do that. That's a clue. They're obsessed with their phones, but if they start all of a sudden trying to hide it from you as a parent, that's a problem. Like I said, my son's 24. I had gotten him a phone, I think when he was 11, and it was one of those situations where he got home before I did, and we didn't have a home phone, so he would need, and he actually walked in our house being broken into, so he needed to have a phone at that age. But I also pay for that phone. I will go through that. There's no expectation of privacy in that phone, just like the room. I'm going to take the door off the hinges. This is my house. I pay for the internet. I pay for the phone. And to this day, I have a passcode to his phone. But also, in front of him, I would take it and go through it. But I'm a little bold. I know a lot of parents probably will, oh, you did what? No, it's my phone. I'm letting him use it. But I'm going to be able to go through it. And you need to go through it. And you need to check. You need to walk in and be unexpected. And, have him in the back of his mind that, you're a parent. You're not a friend. You need to be, checking in and surprising them every now and again to enforce your expectations and your rules.
100%. And I think that's you hit the nail on the head there. You're a parent, not their friend. You can be their friend when they're adults. When they're over 20, they make it out that way. You can be their friend.
Try and have a shot together.
When you try that, and that doesn't.
Yeah, they may not take you up on the offer.
Do a shot of ginger ale together. It's good. Yes. It'll make you sick, but it'll be all right.
Yeah.
But you have to have that expectation that you're in charge. You're making sure this person grows up and does the right things in life. So being their friend shouldn't be on your top of your priorities. They should hate you as much as possible growing up.
Yes.
And when they hit 20, oh, maybe they were right, and then they figure it out.
They can talk to a shrink about it later.
There's a whole other field for that. Yes. The next question is from Sharif Abdul Rahman. During your undercover years, what case changed you personally the most?
Well, I mean, I do have one of the 4 pimps that I had pursued that was pimping a 16-year-old. And then, again, it was an investigation. She turned 18, dipped out to California. The whole case was sidelined. He brags that he beat that case, but really it was never filed because I didn't have a cooperative victim. That's how that went down. But fast forward to right before he retired, he was pimping another 16-year-old. And we did the entire investigation. She testified against him on her 18th birthday. He was sentenced to 108 years. And the problem with it is that was number 2 of the 4 pimps. Number 3 of the 4 pimps we were actively investigating. This is right before I retired, for sex trafficking of an adult. And we landed him at a house, and then we knew about the other apartment that he, as a registered sex offender, put down as his address. So we did a warrant at both locations. And unfortunately, when we did a warrant at that location, guess who answered the door? The girl, the 18-year-old from the case that literally was so scared of this pimp that she legally changed her name. We had her safe. We had her safe. And she went back with another pimp. Wow. That was huge. That was so disappointing. I mean, I understand the dynamic. I understand the lifestyle. I understand the draw, the fast money. But we had her safe. And it's not safe for her now because that trafficker wants to get out of prison. And he thinks if something happens to her, he can appeal his case and get out.
Yeah. Wow. It's a vicious cycle, vicious circle.
Yeah, and that's a sad story. The girl from the big case with the 500-year sentence, that girl never returned to prostitution. You know what I mean? She's a mother of several, I think she has 2 kids. She's affected, though, by this because it's my understanding years later, she's not able to hold down a job. She's never learned how to drive. In my opinion, the time that I was with her when she was 20, testifying in that trial, I was around her for 7 months. She was giggly and like a 16-year-old. She was stuck mentally, in my opinion, like she was when I had met her at 16, almost 17. She really didn't advance. So the trauma that she went through was unimaginable. And I don't know that she will ever be able to heal from all of that completely. And that's the thing that, when I talk to the public about this problem, it's a big deal. I get it. To put a person in prison for the rest of their life, 100 plus years, I totally get that. That's a huge decision to put on your heart. but it's also a big deal for that victim to live with what happened to them for the rest of their life.
Yes.
And so that is the weight that the jury carries, and having them understand the entirety of this lifestyle and what happens here is super important.
Definitely. And the victim, the person who did it to him, lives rent free in their head forever.
Yeah.
They're there forever, no matter where that person goes to jail or if they wind up dying or whatever. They're still in that victim's head forever, rent free, no matter what medical or mental health help they get. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Last question from the audience. Being dead, what gives you hope after spending so many years fighting such a difficult problem?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think we can stop this. I think that we can change the mindset of people buying people. I think that we can protect our children. I think that we can hold people accountable, not just traffickers, predators, sex buyers, but also platforms. Like you're seeing Roblox and Minecraft and Facebook, Meta, being sued and held accountable. You're seeing hotels being sued by victims. So I think that we're slow to come back around to the reality of we need to stop this, but it is something that I see in the future. And you know what? Despite this whole comment, it's the oldest profession in the world. This is not a profession. What I'm talking about is the exploitation of another person. Yes. That is not a job. That's not a profession. So I think that we can fight this, and that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Thank you for keeping up the fight. Those on LinkedIn, yes, we are live on YouTube as well at @the_MisFitNation if you want to interact there. Heidi, it's a lot of heavy subject we talked about tonight. And I noticed there's people on LinkedIn that are saying they can't interact as well with us here. But what's the best place to get in contact with you if someone wants to just talk to you like I did, or maybe find out more about what you're doing now?
Yeah, so LinkedIn under Heidi Chance. And then I also have my business also on LinkedIn, A Chance for Awareness, pun intended on my last name. And I have my website, achancephorawareness.com. And that's where I have links for law enforcement if they want to basically view the courses that I went over and some more courses that I have. And then I have community courses as well, because I think if I can get into Google or Intel or a realtor conference, there's trafficking happening everywhere. I have investigated pimps that are renting short-term rentals because they know that law enforcement knows about hotels. So we need to educate short-term rental entities and property managers and, obviously the hotel industry. Or, for example, businesses. If businesses would make a zero tolerance policy like we have for DUI, if an employee got arrested for a DUI, I'm pretty sure they're going to have a consequence at work. Most businesses. And now in Arizona, we're passing, the governor signed a bill to make buying an adult a felony.
Wow.
So a sex buyer buying an adult in Arizona, where there was 8 states, we just joined, we're the 8th state to make this a law. You're going to have a felony on your record and you're going to lose your job. So this is getting serious and we need to stop it. And that is another tool to make an impact in the direction of fighting this crime. So anyway, my website, and then I also am on Instagram. That's where I'm getting all the hate on my videos. So I'd appreciate you guys to comment back on these traffickers and pimps and sex buyers. A chance for awareness. So there's an underscore in between each word. So that's where I'm at.
Outstanding. And what, after everything we spoke about tonight and where to find you, what's one thing you want the Misfit Nation to take away from this tonight?
Yeah, so just like you're at the airport and you've got all the loudspeaker messages, if you see an unattended bag, say something to the attendant or a security or somebody at the airport. I'm asking you, if you see something going on, say something. Don't be afraid to call. Call local law enforcement, call the non-emergency line. Most states are coming up with their own human trafficking hotline. Arizona has one. The national hotline is under new management right now, and it's a little It's a little iffy right now. You can still try and call them, but really the national hotline was made for victims to have a place to go or call, a resource to call, and not necessarily involve law enforcement. So if you're really trying to report something that you're seeing as a witness, then local law enforcement would be the line that I would suggest you call, and report what you're seeing. Be a good witness. Describe these people. Get a license plate. On the down low, don't put yourself in a position of getting retaliated against, but try and take a picture or a video of these people that you're trying to give info on. Last known direction of travel, and leave your information. I know that you don't want the cops to show up at your house. I get that. A patrol car or whatever at the house. But if you could please leave an email address or your phone number so that in case you saw something you forgot to tell 911, the detectives, we're going to want to ask you other questions. Like if you saw a tattoo or, who were they with, or what did they look, what were they wearing? Was there provocative dress? We have questions. So please leave your information so that we can contact you. And if you want to be a witness, you don't have to give your home address either. We can leave that out of the report. So I think that's like what people are worried about. And I would be worried because these pimps, I always say, number one, they're the most reliable people you will ever meet. Because if a pimp says they're going to beat you up, they're going to beat you up. But I also say that they use intimidation with anyone who would be able to show up to court to testify against them and say that this thing happened. So they would be trying to retaliate and intimidate back. I get that, but it's very important to all of us to work together to hold them accountable.
Outstanding. This last question this is the hardest one for you all night.
Okay.
It's 3 things the Misfit Nation, our audience, can start doing tomorrow to be better people.
Yeah. So the number 1 is make the call. The number 2, if you want to get involved, please don't be a vigilante because we have people out there and you'll see them on Instagram and TikTok doing their own child predator operations, but you never see law enforcement there. And just like you see somebody speeding on the side of the road and you're like, I wish there was a cop that could pull them over. You as a citizen can't go pull them over because you don't have the authority, correct? Right. So it has to be observed by that infraction, that speeding has to be observed by a law enforcement officer for us to issue a citation. Or just like I can't go in the emergency room and put on a white coat and perform surgery today just because I don't think you're doing a good enough job. I have no medical license, I don't even work at this hospital, but I'm going to come do this surgery for likes, follows, views, and shares. That doesn't work. And it doesn't work when people are trying to be cops. Impersonating the police is what it is, and it's actually a felony. But please don't be a vigilante. If you want to get involved, there are many, many places that need help. Not only resources for victims, like make a backpack in different size clothing items, toiletries, toothbrushes, makeup removal wipes, some type of toiletry or item bag full of these things that I can give a victim if you donate those to the police department. So then that way, when I'm sitting across the table from a victim and they're telling me about their worst experience ever, they're worried about their shit back at the hotel room. They're asking me, can I get my clothes? I need my toiletries. I need my makeup bag. I need my hair. I need my shoes, whatever's back at that. That's what they're worried about because that's the only property that this pimp has let them own to keep for themselves. And it goes a long way when I can hand them a backpack full of stuff that's theirs, just theirs. And that is something that we can get from the community. There's also organizations that are looking for volunteers. There are a need for placements for adults and children. We have placements for girls. We don't have any placements in Phoenix that I know of for a young boy that might be trafficked right now. Like when I say placement, I mean like a shelter, a safe place for them to go to while they're getting reintegrated back into society. Hire them. It is super hard for them to be coming from a lifestyle where they made $80 in 15 minutes for giving someone a blowjob. And then you want me to go to McDonald's and I'm going to have to work a full day to make that. You know what I mean? So there's many things that can be done. I actually have a whole training on my website. It's my Power of Awareness course that I recorded myself kind of speaking about all these aspects, the evolution of law enforcement, everything. And at the end, I have an entire section on how people can get involved in this fight without being a vigilante. And then I think the third thing is, don't throw that paper away if you get a jury summons. We need you. We need you to serve as a juror. I know that it's a pain in the ass to take off work and you don't know if you're going to get reimbursed and you have to pay for parking and go downtown and go, sit there all day to just find out if you're going to get chosen as a juror or not. And then you got to go back if you do get chosen. And that whole civic duty to serve as a juror is extremely important. So
yes, it is.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm the only one in my house that gets picked for jury duty. I don't know how that happens. My daughter never gets selected. I got selected 3 times in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I mean, got out of work for one day, and then I was on grand jury, so it was. It wasn't bad, but it was interesting to see that side of things and be a part of this solution instead of the problem.
Yes.
So Heidi, thank you for hanging out over this past hour. It flew by because you were giving us some great information. Anytime you want to come back on and give us updates, you're more than welcome. So thank you for hanging out tonight.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Misfit Nation, make sure you take heed to everything you learned tonight and look for the signs. Go get the book. Talk to them on Amazon or Hablo Con Hello, I believe it is. I think it's. Make sure you get those books on Amazon. You can get them through chanceforawareness.com. The link is there to Amazon as well. Follow Heidi on all her platforms and give her some of that good feedback on there to drown out some of that hate that comes across those airwaves. And Misfit Nation, as always, if you feel that darkness caving in on you tonight or ever, just stop and think about things. Think about those around you. People love you. People want you to stay with them. And people want you here tomorrow. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Reach in your wallet. Call those 3 names we tell you to call. If they don't answer, dial 988. Take the prompts and do what they tell you, or contact us. info@themisfitnation.com, jake@themisfitnation.com, or steven@themisfitnation.com. We will keep you on the line until someone local can get you there and take care of you so you're with us tomorrow. Until next time, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at TheMisFitNation.com. That's TheMisFitNation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.